Hey, welcome to the Glen Gauer podcast, sponsored by Mission Blueprint. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Special guest today, a good friend of mine from years ago. We're in small town South Dakota, and one of the 4 marks of Marx is killing a nation. It's really the last one. Today, I want to talk to Katie from Belfoush, South Dakota, home of the Cowboys.
I guess so.
The great movie of all time.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about what's happening in local government. One of the things that really strikes me is we are all so involved in national politics, aren't we, Katie?
Yeah.
I'm going to implore a paradigm shift. We should not be so involved in national politics. We should be involved in local politics because that's where it really affects the family. So welcome, Katie, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am basically just a mom at home to 5 kids. They're ages 10 and under. We homeschool. My husband works just your usual run-of-the-mill Midwest wife.
Midwest wife. Do you like being a Midwest wife?
I sure do.
Tell me why. I don't know. I do, but...
Well, I mean, obviously it has its challenges, but there's a lot of grace, a lot of gifts in it. I love where I live. I love the Black Hills. I love our area. I love our town. I mean, everything about it. I'm just really happy and satisfied with, or content with where we're at. And
How many kids do you have?
5.
5 kids.
Yes.
And you don't work?
Well, I just started a very major part-time job because it was offered to me, but
Wonderful.
other than that,
Well, I'm joking because,
I don't
my
work.
wife, she doesn't work. Really? My gosh, she works harder than I do.
I missed that one, but yes, there is a lot of work in being a mom.
Excellent.
So,
Well, we're here because you have quite a story, I think.
thank you.
Because are you an elected official for the city of Belfoush?
No.
You're just one of the laity, one of the citizens who
Yes.
love their city. You want to see what's best for the city of Belfoush, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So why did you decide to get involved in your community?
Well, it was mainly because I was watching a council meeting online last October, and one of the councilmen, who happens to be my brother, which doesn't really play into that here, but he had come across a financial deficit of $1 million from one year to the next, where that actually should have actually matched. And
So you're saying the budget didn't match?
yeah, in
They
just
were
this
off
one,
$1 million.
yeah, just in this one fund, I think.
That's a lot of candy bars.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard that, obviously, usually my knee-jerk reaction is, well, I hope they get that fixed. But it just wouldn't leave me alone, because really, it's like $1 million is a lot, and I can't just, I don't know, when I prayed about it and everything, it was like, no, I can't let that just go on about my day, because ultimately that's my tax dollars.
So then you've never been involved in any kind of city government before, is that correct?
Nope, it's not my thing.
And so you watched the Belfoush City Council online, right? Mm-hmm. And you noticed that the budget was off $1 million. How did you notice that?
Well, I didn't notice it. It was because simply Sowers brought it up at that meeting because he had questions of his own. Because come to find out, he's been doing his own digging after going to the training for new councilmen, and he was finding out what to expect as a councilman. So that led to that, looking into the annual financial report, and then looking at the financial report, he saw there's a lot of discrepancies. Talked about it at that meeting that I happened to be watching, and it just went from there.
So when he brought it up at the meeting,
yeah,
what was the conversation like amongst the council members?
They decided to table it for the next time. I think.
Why? Why table
I don't know. I mean, I think it was like near the end of the meeting, and so maybe that's why.
That's That would make sense.
Yeah, so I don't know if they ever did really bring it up again, because that's when I started doing my own digging and going to those meetings. So when I went to the meetings, they didn't really bring it up again, if I remember correctly. So
Okay, so you watched this online. You noticed that a councilman, your brother, mentioned that the budget's off by $1 million cojones,
yeah,
$1 million. And you go, whoa, what is going on here?
yeah.
And so how did you get involved then?
Well, I asked him what I need to look for or where can I find that. So he said, look at the annual financial reports. They're found online. It's all public record. So that's what I did. And I printed off the ones that are available online. And I asked 2 different accountants to look over them. Just be like, hey, can you look at them? Tell me what you find, because obviously I don't know anything. And one of them got back to me pretty shortly after she started looking through it. And she said the first 2 pages alone, this is how they're supposed to look, and they don't look like that at all. You can't tell where you're at all with how bad it is.
How about the second accountant? What did she say?
Same thing. He said it was garbage.
Really?
All the way through. And I said, hey, and I was kind of looking at other parts of it. And I said, what's with all these zeros here? I would imagine there's supposed to be some sort of figures here, but there's pages and pages and pages of just zero.
What does that mean, zeros?
It means they didn't even bother to put in
numbers?
the numbers where they should have been.
All right, this is the city. Now, who's doing the budget? Is it the city council doing the budget? Is there a...
Well, I mean, from what I'm gathering, which I have still a lot to learn, but I think it's supposed to be a team effort, if you want to put it that way. You know, the finance office, I think, needs to work with those on the council. The council looks over the budget, they make decisions, and all that stuff. And it just looks like, in a nutshell, that really wasn't being done at the way it should be.
Okay, so they're off $1 million. What is the yearly budget for the city of Belfoush? Do you know off the top of your head?
According to the accountant, I don't want to say his name here just in case, but according to him, who he was an auditor for, that was what he did at his company. He audited cities and school and all of that. So he was kind of looking into this too, and he said our budget was $21 million for Belfoush. So that's what we supposedly have to work with. But so, you know, is $1 million there? It's like, well, $1 million is $1 million, but and again, I mean, maybe it was an error. I mean,
yeah,
those financial reports were just all 100% just errors. So maybe that money isn't truly missing, but as a citizen that really doesn't know much, what else are we to surmise?
Listen, I am like most people. Honestly, I don't know much about my local government. Actually, nothing. I've never watched a meeting online.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they're online. I'm not even sure what's going on in my small town. This is why it's so intriguing to me because, like I said earlier, most people are caught up in national politics. But
yeah,
we can't make a difference in national politics other than voting and writing our congresspeople.
Yeah.
But the real difference is at the local level. And we're seeing you making a difference at the local level.
Well, I hope so. I mean, that's the thing. I'm already crazy busy just being a mom. And so when I saw that in my soul, I was just like, that is just not okay. But at the same time, since I tend to want to take on everything and fix everything, I was asking God, like, I don't know if I can do this, but should I even do it? And usually when I ask God that about various other things, God is saying, just let it be, I'll take care of it. But this time it was very clear. He said, push, push, push. And so I'm like, okay, I will keep pushing. So that's kind of where I'm at. I knew by myself I couldn't do anything, but as I've heard General Flynn said, if you want to see change on the national level, you have to start at the local level. And I'm like, well, it's Belfoush. I mean, it can't be that corrupt, can it? But corruption at the level we've seen nationally, maybe not so much, but corruption in a way where it's just negligence, lack of training, lack of caring, lack of just working for the will of the people.
Have they answered your questions?
Well, the more that I've been learning, the more that I learn, the more I see they were just trying to get me to go away. When I first found out how the AFRs. I call them AFRs, the annual financial reports. I actually went through just the first 2 pages of the AFRs from 2018, 19, and 2020. And I just compared them all. And I mean, like, the amounts were supposed to be all the same, and they don't even match report to report or anything like that. So that's just where I was telling them, hey, this is what's going on. And
okay, wait, hold on. What I'm hearing you say, going back a few years, the budgets aren't matching?
yeah.
Oh, so this isn't, whoops, we made a mistake for the 2021 budget. Was it the 2020 budget?
18, 19, and 20.
Yeah, but I was thinking in my mind, they're $1 million off this year, but you're saying something different here.
Yeah.
You're saying going back 4-5 years, the budgets aren't balanced, correct?
Or at least on paper, they're not doing what they need to do. Well, what it was, all it looked like was just simply that, I mean, I didn't want to accuse anyone of fraud, because there's no way I can prove that. So all I was trying to tell the people at the first meeting I went to at Legal Finance was saying, hey, I found this. These are full of errors, and I have 2 accountants that say so. They don't say that it's fraud, but it just looks like someone in the finance office needs more training, because the amounts just don't match.
Do they have a certified public accountant that they're working with?
Back then, no. And I called around to other finance offices around town or around our area to see, like, what is the job of the finance office and finance officer? Are they required to be a CPA? So they're not, but they do need some sort of finance background. CPA is great, or business finance, or something like that. I looked at the job description for our finance officer, and they said a degree related to that area or the experience equivalent, which kind of blew my mind. That, I mean, I don't put everything into having a degree, but it was clear that was she really qualified for the job of managing our money at that level? And just seeing how the finance reports were, they were just filled with errors. I mean, I added up the amounts of errors on those first 2 pages of those 3 financial reports, and it was like over 30 million in errors. I'm not saying that money is missing. I'm not saying that, physically that money is messed up. I'm just saying those reports weren't what they should have been, and the errors in that was just insane.
So looking at the spreadsheets, the actual income, outcome, maybe I should say, the debits, the credits were off $30 million. Not that you're in debt $30 million, but it was just an incomplete statement.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like that one, like the retired accountant said. He's like, they're garbage. Like, there's nothing you can get from these. You don't know where you're at, because like the assets are supposed to match net position. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but if those amounts are supposed to match and be the same, that's what I'm going to look at. And that's on the first 2 pages. And they didn't match. And they were different all the way, like from the report itself didn't match. And then the amounts were different twice over. If I looked at the same year, but on the different report, they were different again. And so it was just, this is a mess.
This is disturbing to me, because you're going back to 2017, I think you said?
It was 2019, but 2018's amounts are on there. 2017, 18, 19. So they kind of show you the previous ones as they go along.
What was 2003 like?
2003?
What was 1995 like? What I'm saying is, I mean, if you want to trace it back, I mean, this could be going on for 20 years. And I'm not saying there's fraud. It could be just incompetence. I don't know. But this could be going on a long time. We're talking millions and millions of dollars misallocated. This is a big story.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to say that they've been like physically misallocating it. I would like to say that they're not. I hope they're not.
But you don't know.
But that's the thing. We don't know because there's nothing we can go from because the financial reports are useless to us. And I was just today, I was just going through the timeline, like learning the fiscal year timeline and asking various people on the council, when is, so this is our fiscal year, January 1 to December 31st. When is that AFR due? And they responded, well, it's due in May. So I'm like, okay, so that's due in May. They use it to see where they were at with the budget, for the previous year. So like, hopefully this coming May, they get 2021's AFR. And when they're going to do the budget for this year, they can go back and look at that one and see where they were last year. Maybe they overspent. Maybe some budgets need cut. Maybe some need more. From what I'm gathering, that's what the AFR is for. Well, how are you supposed to know any of that if it's absolute garbage? So I was challenging them, saying, okay, you got that in May, and the last 2 to 3 AFRs are complete garbage. And I came in October showing you as a citizen what I found, and you already knew about it.
5 months later, you came, started asking questions, but they already knew it was off $1 million.
They should know. I mean, that's the thing. If you're on the council, this is what I said. I'm like, okay, so if you need these AFRs, I'm assuming you know how to read them, and you knew then that it was garbage, and you didn't do anything about it, even after I came and saying, hey, I found this. And all they did was just stroke my ego and say, thanks for coming. And the finance officer just gave me excuses. So
you're saying, though, they're garbage. Is the city council saying they're garbage?
They don't really say much.
That's a shocker to me, Katie. They're not saying much. Which leads me up to the question, what are their action items? What have they decided to do then?
Well, they weren't doing anything at first. And so what I did was at that legal finance meeting, I was really vocal about, hey, I really want this fixed. I'm extremely concerned. And they said, well, in government, things take a while.
That's true.
I'm like, fine. And they're like, thank you so much for coming. You should run for council. I'm like, no, I like my power as a citizen. So what I decided to do then, I'm like, okay, I committed to just giving them a week to see if they come up with anything. And I came to the city council meeting that next week, and I asked them, hey, so what plans do you have to get this fixed? And the mayor said nothing. They haven't done anything. And I was like, show of hands, is anyone in this room as concerned as I am about our finances? And it was, I don't know.
Who did you ask that question to?
Everybody.
Everybody, the council members?
Oh, yeah. I put my hand up like, anybody as concerned as I am?
And did they raise their hands?
I think one person did.
That's it. Okay, so you're $1 million off. One person said, yeah, I'm struggling with that.
Yeah, I mean, and that was just the beginning of it. Now, after, going through where we are right now, I mean, back then I was saying, the 2 accountants that have looked over these things have strongly suggested a forensic audit. And forensic, looks through the details to see if there's any fraud. Because if the financial reports are that bad, we don't even know. And it opens, to me, I'm thinking, I don't think fraud is happening in the finance office, but it can sure open the door to it happening from, somewhere else within city government. I mean, that leaves us vulnerable, I guess is what I want to say. And so we were really pushing that, and they were pushing back. I don't know. They just weren't willing to just be like, we agree, and let's try to get this done. Because our mayor's new. He was just voted in last year. Even though he's been on the council, he's been on that for some years now.
What did the mayor do before he became mayor? Was he a normal citizen like you, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's been on the council. I don't know for how many years he was, but he was also the chair of legal finance. I'm not sure how long. So they've all worked together for at least a few years, I think.
So the city council has not yet determined their action.
Well, what happened was, since I wouldn't go away, I ended up going public with it after that, asking them, and they said, we haven't done anything. So that's when I went public on Facebook, found a community page, and I'm like, Belfoush citizens, this is what's going on, and this is what I discovered, and this is what the city is doing, which is nothing. And that really got people woken up briefly for what's going on. And I kept saying we need to push for a forensic audit. That's what my accountants are highly suggesting, just so we can know where we're at. And, I think it was in January, maybe end of December, we were able to get a private company, but has a really good reputation to come in. So, but mainly because within a couple of weeks of me going public with that, our finance officer resigned. And so we're left without a finance officer.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And so
that's bad optics.
yeah. I don't know either way, but so that happened, and our annual financial report needs to be getting worked on. It's, for 2021, and there's no one there to get that done. And so they were able to get in this CPA to come in and do this company that's pretty good.
Who is they? Who's bringing in
the council? I mean,
they are. Okay.
Yeah, they actually looked into the legal finance committee, looked into getting an audit done, forensic audit. Supposedly there was so many of those things going on, it would have been a long time before they could get us in there. And so we were able to snag Casey Peterson LLC to come and do that. And so they are getting our books all balanced, reconciled, so that the auditor can actually do his job. And so we have an audit going right now, and we have Casey Peterson working on everything, getting it balanced, getting it where it needs to be. And the accountant that did these city audits and everything said that they asked for a 2 to 3 month extension. And he said that told him that they're still working on reconciling our checkbooks, because he's like, judging by all that about what's going on, it looks like your checkbooks weren't even reconciled starting back in January of 2021. So just simple little things like that just makes me wonder, if that wasn't even happening, what the heck was the finance office doing all last year?
So we have an issue. It's either fraud or incompetence. You're not making any statement today about fraud, correct?
Yeah.
You're just concerned there's $1 million missing, and I'd like to know as a citizen, where did that money go?
Yeah, I mean, I really want to know, I'm not super concerned that there's actual fraud going on. I'm just getting a feeling that they just manage the money very, very, very poorly. I'm very curious about our debt limit. How much debt is our town actually in? I just learned that they had to take out more debt, and in order to prove that they could make the payments, they had to increase our water bills before they could even get financed. And so they voted to increase our water bills continuously, annually, through 2025. And things are already expensive as it is.
So you have more to pay in your water bill, but they lost $1 million in the budget.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if that $1 million discrepancy was just an error because she just wasn't paying attention, or if that truly was missing. I'm leaning towards it was simply a typing error. It was on Excel or something like Excel, and it looked like when she just needed to copy, paste, drag over, it just didn't happen, something like that. So to me, I'm just looking like, okay, overall, there's just a lot of negligence going on. There isn't any oversight whatsoever between the finance office and the council. There's zero communication. I've learned that there's at least 5 documents that the council needs to get concerning like where the cash accounts are, like the checkbooks and everything. You're like what the city is spending every month, how much money's coming in, those basic things. And I don't think they've been getting those reports for a while. And who does that fall on? Who's to blame? Well, I'm thinking it goes both ways. Mm-hmm. A failure to lead, a failure to communicate, a failure to really do the right thing for the sake of the people. They just, from my point of view, it just seems like they just are in their own world. And for whatever reason, they're just not going to hold anyone else accountable.
The real story here is not that Belfoush's budget is off. I think the real story is you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Obviously, I'm talking to you, but what keeps coming to mind is here you are watching the city council. Why were you watching it?
Mainly just because my brother is on it now, and, you know, it's like, well, that's cool. My brother's a councilman, and you want to tune in and see what's going on, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
So you're watching the meeting. You hear of a discrepancy of $1 million, and you decide to go down there and see what the heck is going on, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Right. What have you learned about the power of the citizen?
Well, I've really come to learn we are a lot more free than we think, and our voice matters a lot more than we've been led to believe. When I was talking to my brother about that, I said, "Is it true what you said at that city council meeting? Like, did I hear you right?" And he says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, what can you do about it?" And he's like, "Well, my hands are tied in a lot of ways." I said, "Well, I can go to these meetings and I can do this, this, and this, right?" Because he said, "Well, I can't do this." I said, "But I can, right?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, you can." And so I said, "So basically what you're telling me is I'm more powerful than you." And he goes, "Yeah."
Really?
And I'm like, "Okay, well, I have this power. Well, with great power comes great responsibility, right?" And that's where I was just like, if I've got more power than he does, is it right to just shrug it off and be like, "Well, I'll let them figure it out"? I mean, that's just not right. And there's nothing one person alone can't do it. And so, I don't know. Like, again, that's where I just started praying about it, and I moved forward with it. I went public with it because I knew if I can get the community to understand what's going on and inform them, because they obviously, they have a right to know what's going on with their tax dollars. And I knew if I can get them on board with me and we can all do this together, it'll be easy to clean things up.
So tell me about, you put the Facebook page together. Tell me about the number of people that began to come forward.
Yeah, so I went public with it on that community page, and a lot of people on that post were commenting, saying, you know, I always knew there was just something shady going on. I love Belfoush, but there's just something shady going on. And there was such a huge response when all I asked was, please come to the meetings. But there was such a response, I figured it's better if I start my own group than constantly post on this community page about it. And so I started that group, and right now it's over 400 people. And then I started another public page where we can just share things that we want shared. Then that's already over 250, 260, I think.
Wow.
For a town of like 5,500, we're not quite at 10%.
Well, you're pretty close.
We're getting there, but
and it's growing, correct?
It is growing. It's growing consistently, and I'm hoping for more people to step up and volunteer, because what we started doing is monthly meetings, and our group is called We the People of Belfoush, South Dakota, and so we started putting together monthly meetings where we're going to have people come. Our first meeting, we had our guest, Wayne Dreelan, and he taught us the difference between accrual method and the modified cash basis that cities can use, and why accrual is better. And we're on modified cash, but I think we've pushed them enough to get back on the accrual. But it's just like, you know, if we're going to work at the local level, we need to know what the heck is going on down there. And I have failed miserably as an American citizen being involved and knowing what the heck is going on. And so it's like, well, this is for my sake, you know, as much as for the community. So we're putting on these meetings. Our next meeting, what we're doing, I have a great group of gals who each took on their own projects. One is researching just basic, like she's going through newspapers to see about financial decisions that have been made throughout the last 10-ish, 15 years. Just so we can kind of follow the money on that route. And then I have another gal who started her own research group type of thing looking at our rec center because the city did some pretty shady stuff, taking what was meant specifically for the rec center funding and muddied it into their general fund, I think, so that they could get financing to build a railroad spur and a new city hall. And now the rec center's been really struggling. And so she's looking into the rec center and helping that out. Plus, she took on the library and she took on the liquor store. So she's Wonder Woman doing all of that. And so we're hoping we can get more people to step forward from our group, volunteer. We started a sign-up sheet about for people to commit to attending at least one meeting a month, just trying to get the community to understand if we show up together as a community and we keep up a consistent presence to all these committee meetings and the city council meetings, then it won't be so burdensome. I mean, overall, we would have over 600 people if they all committed to showing up. It'd be awesome. So,
what other fruits are you seeing? People are starting to step up because of really your decision to get involved. Anybody running for council?
Yeah, we've had, let's see, at least I've had 5 people tell me within my group that they were very interested in wanting to run, which I thought was amazing because these people before they weren't generally involved. But after everything we've witnessed since October, they said, I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of how things are, and I'm seriously considering running. And I don't know where they're all at now. Right now we're in the phase of people getting their petitions out, having to get signatures. So I think we'll know more in March about who is actually running. We've got 4 council seats up and I think 2 on the school board. But I mean, it's really cool. And my husband had the idea that our group should sponsor a town hall. And because our group, I think, kind of has maybe, due to rumors and everything like that, has maybe a hinge of like negativity with our reputation because we are kind of like going after the city hall or local government. But it's been really fun because I've been working with people with the Downtown Business District Association and a lot of other people, and we were actually getting this going. Like, we're going to do a town hall working in conjunction with other people downtown, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool.
Do you think you have more power? I know you answered this question, but do you think you have more power with what you're doing than your brother does on the city council?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is like, that's been my main goal. I want to show people the power that God gave us. I mean, America is the only nation in world history that did not want a king. I mean, Israel even begged for a king, and God said, but I want to be your king. I want to be your God. But they're like, no. America was the first nation founded on, we want God to be our king. And, and God gives us so much individual freedom. And America, our founding fathers realized that. The people that came here on the Mayflower knew that. We have inherent rights from God, and therefore we deserve that dignity and that royalty simply as children of God. And when I realized that, like, my voice matters whether they like it or not. So I'm not going to be quiet because this is how America was founded. This is why America exists. And if they don't like it, then they need to either resign or get out of the way or step up to the plate and do the job. And that's what I've been trying to show my community, because so many of them are afraid of retaliation from the city hall, from our local government. I've had
big money people.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know who's pulling the strings at the local government, but something's going on there. But I've had business owners and people just they need to be careful with their reputation, which I understand. I mean, that's why I knew I could start this, because I'm like, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I don't work for the city. I don't own a business. I don't have a lot to lose when it comes to that side of things. And I'm hoping more people will find the courage to step forward, knowing that their community will fight for them, because before they would get screwed by the city somehow. I've had so many stories that's like, it is not good stuff about what happened to them.
No kidding.
Yeah. And it's things like that where I want to say, hey, can I make this public somehow? Can we fight for you somehow? And they said, no, don't say anything. And I'm just hoping that once they know they have a voice when they stand up with the rest of us and the rest of the community can unite, then that's when we gain our power back. I mean, we've had it this whole time. We just didn't use it, and we've been led to believe we don't have it. So that's been my main driving force, is showing my community, just like our South Dakota motto is, under God, the people rule. And I've had people down at City Hall tell me, well, you're not the boss. You didn't hire these people. And it's like, well, my tax dollars pay their salaries. So what does that tell you? And when I'm watching YouTube videos about how local government is set up, and you see, the table of how it all is, and you have your mayor, and then under the mayor you have the council or whatever. Well, at the top, above the mayor, it's the people.
See, thank you.
So
you are they're wrong. You are the boss.
Yes.
The citizens are the boss. And government is supposed to serve us,
right,
our needs, and it's so backwards.
Yeah, very much. And it makes me really sad to see how much people are afraid to step forward, or they just feel powerless, or that they just, I don't know, like it breaks my heart, because it's like our community is so full of potential if everyone just came forward and said, no more, we're not doing this anymore. And I think that's why I come off so strong and snarky sometimes in our group when I post more things about what I've learned or what I've experienced at City Hall, and some people just don't like it. I think it really rubs some the wrong way. But when so many people come forward finally and they say, I feel that way. I've had this and this and this experience. And I just want to be like, you know what? Your voice matters.
Where do you find your courage?
God. I mean, it's really easy for me. I don't know. I just feel like God gave me the courage. I was never like this. If you told me I was be doing this and expressing my absolute 100% honest thoughts and feelings to someone in a council meeting, I would have thought you were crazy. But God has a way of really forming each of us into how he meant for us to be. So that's just kind of where it is. It's like I want to live in God's truth, and I want everyone else to see the truth that he has given us, such as the power we have as the people under him. So
I think so many people live in fear, and they're
Yeah, they
scared to stand up and say something. Did
Yeah.
you experience any fear when you began?
Well, it was nerve-wracking. I mean, it's not easy by any means. But, I mean, I wasn't afraid. It was just nerve-wracking just because it's something I've never done before. And I really wanted to make sure, okay, do I know what I'm saying? Do I know what I'm looking at? And I didn't. And I think that's where it was really hard, because I wished I was an expert in accounting and all of that, but I just wasn't. And that's where I was like, well, I know God called me to do this, so, God qualifies the called. He doesn't call the qualified. And so I'm like, well, I guess that's just one way to keep me humble, and that's just where we're going to roll with it. So I'm like, God, I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to ride this train until you tell me to get off. So he needed my blunt and honest qualities for something, I guess.
What's next on the docket?
Well, we're going to keep exposing things, whatever I'm finding out about our city finances and the way things are being run at City Hall. I'm just going to keep telling the people, because they have every right to know. We're going to keep doing our monthly meetings. They're really fun. I love getting to meet all of these awesome people in my community. So educating them while I'm educating myself, bringing in guest speakers. We're going to have, eventually I really want to get the city administrator and the finance officer from Sturgis to come up because I've heard they're really great. I've talked to the finance officer down there. She's amazing. So just to teach us, ideally, what should we expect from those roles. And we're going to do that town hall. We have elections coming up. Hopefully I can scale back a little bit, but we've got a lot of work to do, and I know it's not going to be quick. But
are you getting enough support?
I've had a lot of undercurrent support, which is interesting.
What do you mean?
People that want to support me, but they don't want to publicly come out and say that just yet.
Business owners? Business owners?
Oh, people from all walks of life. A lot of business owners, which is understandable. You know, they've got to have a working relationship with the city hall. And they just, or people that are involved in certain ways with the certain different committees or whatever, they've got to be very careful. But my hope is that the more that our movement or our group grows and the more that we're taken seriously by the community and by those like at City Hall and business, like they can see, this is legitimate and they're not going away. Like this is an actual real thing. I'm hoping that they'll have the courage to actually step forward because whatever business has been supporting us, I try to make sure I'm advertising for them. We support them. We go to their place, like the restaurants and everything. And we do all of that for sure. But, I don't know. It's interesting to see how much with the support, hopefully more people will come forward. My husband made a really good point after we had such a victory at that meeting where they tried to oust my brother and they didn't succeed.
What did he do wrong?
He didn't do anything wrong. Supposedly he violated certain things in the code of ethics. But his defense that he gave just blew it out of the water. But after that whole thing, my husband said, some people might feel threatened or jealous of our group or our movement because it's made up of common people in Belfoush. We have full-time jobs. We're stay-at-home moms. Maybe some that have to work both two jobs. It's not these highfalutin business owners that have been around for a long time that have big connections downtown. It's just your everyday citizen. And we got a huge leg up after that meeting because we all showed up to fight for the one council person that was fighting for us. And I think that really made me excited because it's like those are the people that we want to know. We want to show them their voice matters. It doesn't matter if you are a waitress or if you work in the gun department at Runnings, or, if you're a cashier at the grocery store. You are all equally powerful. You're the most powerful person in the world because you live in America, and that's what America's founded on. But that's it. It doesn't matter your state in life.
What is your overall goal?
I just want to get Bell back on its feet, and I know that'll only happen by doing what we're doing, just helping the people wake up to what's been really going on and praying for them that they get the courage to stand up with us and to just be brave. I mean, it's God doing that for us. We can't get that on our own. But there's just, like they said, there's just been something that we're not quite sure. There's something going on down there, and it's been happening for decades, but nobody could put a finger on it, and not one person could uncover it or dig it out. And that's what me and those in my group want to do. We want to get rid of that, whatever it is, fix it, and get Bell back on its feet for where we know it could be.
So I lived in Rapid City for about 9 years. And I knew some people in Spearfish, really not Bell. And now and then Belfoush would come up. And do you know what they would say? There's something wrong with that government in Belfoush.
When was that?
I moved to Rapid City in 1996.
Oh, man.
And the first time I came through Bell was, I think, the summer of 1997.
Wow.
But I knew some people in Spearfish. And they would always say, there's something fishy about that government. There's something wrong over there.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, that's what everyone says.
What is your takeaway from what you've experienced looking into local government?
Basically, and maybe this is for all the way up to the national government. I mean, I'm hoping not every city government is like this, but our government, they will go to any lengths needed to protect their own.
What does that mean? Their own what?
Those in City Hall.
Their own jobs and...
Their own. There's them, and then there's us, the citizens. So that's... After especially January, it was made crystal clear to me they will go to any lengths necessary to protect their own and themselves. And they will go so far even as to take what little reputation a stay-at-home mom had with her husband and drag it through the mud over false allegations, and they don't care. They didn't do any investigation on that to see if it held any water. They didn't care. And when I asked them for a public apology because of the rumors that are going around because of what they did, they either didn't respond, or if I did meet with the mayor at his request, he and the city lawyer just turned it back on me, saying, well, basically it was my fault and the mayor was just doing his job. And
what was your fault?
The whole thing, they're like, well, we were just doing our job. Because I would go there.
Hold on. If they were doing their job, where's $1 million?
Well, I know. I mean, it's like,
this is silly.
They're just going to twist whatever they can to put it back on me.
You said this earlier, for just a stay-at-home mom. And I know you didn't really mean it that way, but you did say, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. For just a stay-at-home mom, you are starting a little revolution in Belfoush, an uprising. And I commend you for that.
Thanks.
Did you think you were going to get into any of this, though?
No.
Right.
I mean, a year ago, I'd been like, whatever, no. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, just a stay-at-home mom in the world's eyes, I'm pretty dang powerful in God's eyes.
Where should people go to find out about this sign-up sheet you talked about? What's the sign-up sheet for?
Well, it's simply if they want to sign up to commit to attending one meeting a month, whatever meeting they want of their choosing, because there's plenty of committees or the city council meeting. And I mean, we're just on Facebook. It's our Facebook page. So it's mainly like, if you want to sign up, just comment under the post and then I'll put you down. And then I'm going to try to get it like on a Google spreadsheet or something and post that as we can. I'm having to learn all that side of stuff from another member, so she's kind of helping me out, but that's where we're at on that.
Well, listen, Belfoush, if you are a Belfoush Bronc, you're listening to this podcast with Katie here in Belfoush. One of the things that strikes me is you just started asking questions because of concern, and look what's happening.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Just stand up. Start asking questions. Call your councilmen, councilwomen.
Yeah.
Call them. Ask them what's going on, what's happening with the budget. Write letters. What about we get Christine Oman here? Have you talked to Christine Oman?
No.
You know, Christine Oman started a little bit like you.
Yeah, from what I've heard.
She got involved. Her dad died, and I believe she had to pay a death tax.
Yeah.
And her mom had to go to work for 10 years just to pay off the death tax.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And so
too.
I think she got ticked, and
Yeah.
she got involved in local government, and she just kept going. And well, she's out of control. She's governor, and she's great, and we love her. We love her. Tell me again, where can I find you on Facebook?
So our private group is We the People of Belfoush, South Dakota. And so that's our private group that anyone can join. And then we have our public page, which I started just because we have things we don't want to share necessarily, just because it's funny memes or conversations that we just have in our private group that I didn't feel like anyone and everyone and their dog can see what's going on. So we have the private group, and then our public group is where we're going to have our events that we share, or certain things that we want to let the public know on a grander scale. So that is just all in caps. You just look up public group, We the People of Belfoush, South Dakota. So
When and where is the next meeting?
it's the 4th Thursday in February, whatever that date is.
The 24th.
24th. Okay.
At 7 o'clock?
Well, I haven't got it yet. I'm trying to move it up to like 5:30.
That's dinner time.
Well, that's the point, see. So if we have it at 5:30 and we keep it at an hour, then at 6:30 we can go and, support the restaurants that have been supporting us. So last time we went to the stadium, so I think up is the branding iron next. So it'd be fun if we can go and do that. So that's that. And then our town hall is going to be March 13th at 4 p.m. at the Rec Center Theater, and Kurt Westland is going to moderate it. And I talked to him. He's an amazing guy, really involved and loves our community too. So I think that'll be pretty fun to go to.
Tell me about that book you have in front of you.
Oh, well, I have 6 books I checked out from the library because this is how bad I am with knowledge on my government. So I didn't know it, but this book was written in 1931, and it's actually a book that was used in school for civics. I don't know if it's middle school or high school, but it's one of those. So that's where I'm at. I'm reading that kind of level of a book. But one thing that just really stuck out to me here was that their first page talking about what government is, what civics is. And here at the bottom, he wrote, governments must have officers, and as all of our governments are of the people and must be supported by the people, each must have workers. When you're older, you'll be required to help administer these governments. That's where I figured out it was a book for middle school or high schoolers. Anyway, so he says, you will vote, you may hold office, but if you do not know civics, you can be neither an intelligent voter nor an efficient officer. And I just was blown away at the fact that page 1, there's this expectation of these school-aged kids that they are required to be a part of their government in any way, shape, and form that they can be. And they're learning this in school. Like, do we even have this kind of thing in our public schools right now?
I don't think so.
I mean, I was just stunned. Like, I know I took government, but they didn't say you're required to be a part of your government because this is a government by the people, of the people, for the people. I mean, and that's where I'm like, I have failed, but I'm not going to let that happen again. And I'm going to make sure my kids are involved too. That's why I bring them to meetings, just so they can see, we are all really powerful. We just have the responsibility to use it.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. If I can do this, anyone can do it. It's a lot of work and it's been really hard, but I don't regret any part of it. And I just hope more people will step up to their own communities. If I can do this, anyone else can do this in their community. So if you want to make a national or worldwide change, just start at the local level.
Call Katie. If you need a shot of courage, call Katie.
Well, I guess that is, I'm dead serious. I've had so many people message me on Facebook. So if you want to message me on Facebook for anything, feel free to. Just remember it's Katie Hoffman, and Hoffman has 2 F's and 2 N's on the end.
Katie, I think you have a future here in politics.
I don't want to have a future in politics.
But honestly, it may be your cross.
It might be. I mean, I really want to be here for my kids and my family. That's where I'm at. I'm like, God, I'll do whatever you want, but I want to make sure that I keep my family the priority. And it's already taken up so much time, especially when City Hall throws so much drama at us that we have to work through. But again, I'm like, God, I'll do whatever you want. But Jesse's like, you just need to run for mayor. If you're doing all this work, you're working harder than them. You might as well get paid for it.
So your dad was a mayor.
Yeah.
For 1 term.
Yeah.
It's in your blood.
Ugh, don't say that.
We are all required to be involved. And it's not just with our vote. You see, this is what we're told in high school. Your vote matters. Of course it does.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
But it ends there. Mm-hmm. But our job is to be involved in our local community, because what happens is, right, and you're finding this out, if the good guys don't get into local government, the bad guys find their way in quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, Belfoush, just stand. Get involved.
Yeah.
But check Katie out. Thanks so much. This has been fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Glen Gauer podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Rumble, and YouTube. May God strengthen the bars of your gates.